I've got to bring up the adjusted box score from the State game because, shockingly, the one that we received after the game was incorrect. A lot of stat issues in Raleigh on Wednesday night. But
some big struggles.
Here's one stat that actually for a period of time was in question, and that's the actual score of the game. Carolina wins 67-54 over the Pack. And, Adam, I feel like this was very much a rinse and repeat, more of the Clemson game than the Pitt game, but I think all three of these games have very similar features. And that is that I don't think the Tar Heels shot particularly well. And yet what allowed them to win was their constant level of competition, their really high-quality defense. Hubert Davis called it elite after the game. Their ability to rebound the basketball. And just that constant level, as I said, of competitiveness eventually wearing down the other team. And it was Carolina that made the big run, just like it was against Clemson, just like it was against Pitt. It was Carolina that broke open a game that was living in that 2 to 7 point lead for the Tar Heels. It's like you blinked and all of a sudden it was a 17-point lead with about 5 or 6 minutes left. And so, yes, the Tar Heels, I think, would like to shoot the ball a little better than they have here recently. But, Adam, the fact is the fact that Carolina has won 3 consecutive ACC road games, all by double digits, I think without their A-plus game in any of those contests. And as we have talked about several times through the year, the way this team competes makes them very fun to watch, very easy to root for, and right now it's winning them some really high-quality games.
Felt like, again, Carolina's depth was important, both playing through some foul issues because Armando Bacot had some that were self-inflicted in the first half, and then in the second half, Hubert Davis just deploying some different pieces. Elliot Cadeau wasn't great early, so Carolina went to Seth Trimble, who was great, and then brought back Elliot Cadeau, who then was great. And Jalen Withers gave the Tar Heels some good minutes. Jalen Washington gave the Tar Heels some good minutes. I thought Zayden High was pretty good for the 90 seconds he played at the end of the first half when Carolina needed one more big body just to come in and compete, and that is what he will do every single time. So I thought depth was important. I thought Carolina broke it open by running after makes because they're in that stretch you're talking about when it went from like, oh, this is a 3 to 5 point game to, oh, this is a 10-point game. Cadeau and Trimble both scored immediately after NC State baskets. Trimble got fouled on his, and it probably made Roy Williams' heart sing. His heart was already singing because Carolina was beating State.
Yeah.
But then to do it that way on a day when offense was hard to get, to be able to run after 2 made State baskets, State had to work so hard to score. And then they finally did, and they're feeling good, and DJ Burns was smiling and prancing around like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and then here come the Tar Heels, zoom, right back down the court, and they score. That just takes a lot out of an opponent, and it felt like it took a lot out of State.
State shoots just 27%, and again, that number has been fluid because somehow they had given State too many shots in the game. At one point, State was 1 of 11 from three-point range in the first half. As it all ends up, they were 0 for 9 in the first half from 3. Now and then 2 for 11 in the second half, so a total of 2 of 20 from three-point range. And Adam, you said it, State had to work really hard to score. Some of that is the way, I mean, they just throw it to Burns and everybody goes to the other side of the court and then everybody cheers and watches him go one-on-one. And some of that is Carolina played really good defense. And State missed some shots, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't gone back and looked at every single shot. I'm sure State missed some shots. That happens in basketball. But the overriding feeling I got, leaving the second half in particular, is that State was taking a lot of shots that Carolina wanted State to take, and most of those shots had a Tar Heel hand in the face.
Well, the State offense seemed to be either Burns dribbles around and then shoots, and he is fun to watch. I think he's fun to watch occasionally. Like if he was on my team, I think some of those things would be frustrating because sometimes there's just a failure to compete. So either that happens, either he posts up or they fire up a jumper
Yeah.
And they just don't have the shot-making guards at this point in the season that they had, for example, last season, when if they were firing up jumpers, you might be in trouble because they might get hot, and they never did, but they kept shooting, and they didn't go in. And more often than not, the Tar Heels were there to get the rebound, and more often than not, the Tar Heel getting the rebound was Harrison Ingram.
Yeah.
19 rebounds, the most rebounds a Tar Heel's ever had against State. That's incredible.
Yes, and we just got another stat. Jody Zeugner's like in nirvana right now because of all these incredible stats coming out of this game. I can't even see if I can find it here. Harrison Ingram becomes the first Tar Heel player to get 19 rebounds in a game and also hit a three-pointer. So, I mean, there hadn't been a lot of guys that have got 19-plus rebounds. I think Billy Cunningham, I'm sure, did it billions of times, but there was no three-point shot. In fact, per Jody Z's research, the only other Tar Heel even to be in the conversation to even attempt a three and getting this many rebounds in the game was Luke May in 2019, and Luke didn't hit a three in this particular game against Boston College. So
Somewhere Armando Bacot's thinking, wait a second.
yeah, that's right. That may be hot from behind the arc. A couple of things, one of which you mentioned that I just wanted to highlight again that I thought were important, and they all kind of revolve around Burns. One was I thought Jalen Washington was really good defensively against DJ Burns when Armando Bacot was in foul trouble, which was a lot of this game. And Hubert Davis mentioned it on the radio afterwards. I think he mentioned it in his full press conference as well, that Carolina, and understandably so, went into this game assuming that when Jalen Washington was guarding DJ Burns, the Tar Heels would have to help and double some, because there's like even just on what the guys are listed at, there's like a 45-pound difference between the two players, when in reality that's probably like a 75-pound difference between the two players. Yes, Adam?
45 pounds is a complete
Well,
fantasy.
DJ Burns listed at 275, and that may have been his AAU weight. I'm not sure that is accurate anymore. So I thought Jalen Washington did a really good job. Was he perfect? No, Burns got a couple scores against him, but I thought what Jalen Washington did well was he didn't try to beat DJ Burns at his own game. Like, Jalen Washington's not big enough to sit there and just bang, keep him out of the paint, and like there are very few people who are, if any. But what he did was use some of his athleticism, his length, his speed. I mean, tip the ball away just to make Burns kind of reset what he was doing. He would stay vertical on Burns' shots to bother them. I thought he did a really good job defensively against Burns. And then, and you brought this up earlier, DJ Burns is very skilled and can do some very good things. There's also some things that I think you can take advantage of, and some of that was what you talked about with Trimble and Cadeau running the floor for easy baskets. And then, on that pass, the incredible pass that Cadeau threw, like one of the better passes a Tar Heel has thrown in a couple of seasons. It was just pick and roll, and it was almost like a quarterback leading Bacot, but I don't even know how he knew Bacot was. I mean, it was an incredible pass. You know the one I'm talking about. If you haven't gone back and watched that play, just watch how the Tar Heels had the State defenders involved in this play all shook up. And so not only did they put State in a difficult spot, they executed at a extraordinarily, unusually high level with that pass and finish. And I thought the Tar Heels, particularly in that second half, and particularly Cadeau, controlled the way the game was being played and didn't get hurried. I thought they were hurried some in the first half. I thought they controlled things in the second half.
It felt like just the possibility that the Tar Heels might double once they showed it a few times rattled Burns a little bit, because he wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. Sometimes he was anticipating a double team that never came, and I think that helped. And then the thing about using the pick and roll, which Carolina did basically the final 6 or 7 minutes of the game, reminded me of what Hubert Davis said his first year when he talked about what he learned when he was at ESPN and he went to all the different practices. And it was Mike Krzyzewski, our good friend, who he said what he learned. We'll get to that. He said one thing he learned by going to Duke practice is once you find something that works, do it over and over again until they stop it.
Yeah.
And that's what Carolina did, and State never stopped it. And it felt like that also had the added benefit of tiring out Burns, who just is not. He's just not ready to play 40 minutes. I mean, I think he would say this too. He cannot play 40 minutes at 100% effort at this point in his basketball career. And Carolina took advantage of that.
Yes, and Cadeau was driving that ship. Either with passes to Bacot, it was the same action that he hit R.J. Davis. I mean, there's more than one option on these plays, and so it was the same action that he hit R.J. Davis on the left sideline for that three that felt kind of like the ball game shot. So very impressive. I was really impressed with Cadeau in that last 10 minutes. I thought he was excellent for Carolina in that final 10 minutes. We talked about Harrison Ingram and all the rebounds. R.J. Davis, not a great night shooting, but he still hit some big shots for Carolina. Couple threes early in the second half in particular felt like they were big ones. Adam, just another quality road win for the Tar Heels. Oh, and Hubert Davis talked about this afterwards. Good job by Carolina not fouling as much in the second half. Second straight game where Carolina was just fouling too much in the first half, and they were fouls. And they were sending State to the line, and that's really just like it was with Clemson. I thought that's the only thing that really, like, Carolina could have been up 10 at halftime, but they were fouling so much that State was able to stay in the game by its ability to, to go to the line. And then Carolina cleaned that up in the second half and got to the line itself because it was more aggressive and just a better look for Carolina in the second half in that regard.
Going to be fascinating to see what these two teams are when they meet again, because it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, they don't play again until March, early March.
And I think you can kind of see the trajectory that you think they're on, but usually when you think that in ACC basketball, you end up being wrong. So Tar Heels now 5-1 when scoring under 80 points this year, after being 22-20 the last 2 years when scoring under 80. I think that speaks to the team defense, but also speaks to the fact that the Tar Heels would like to shoot the ball better, and I think that's the area of improvement going forward.
Adam, anything else from around the State game that you'd like to talk about?
Big Guy and Tiny Dog were there.
They were. They've had Christian and Scooby, former podcast.
December 3rd, 2021.
Have they added the hoop, or was that always part of it? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I think the hoop may have been part of it, but the 360.
Yeah. Okay. So Christian and Scooby, they did perform at halftime, right?
They were during a timeout and at halftime.
Yeah. But this was the period of time that we're talking about was during a timeout. Like, they gave everybody a little teaser of what was coming at halftime.
I thought that was a good idea.
And so, Big Guy is Christian, Tiny Dog, of course, is Scooby. And so Scooby was out there with a little tiny. It was hilarious, Adam. It was the one time all night that everybody cheered at the same time, other than when State got its free chicken sandwich, even though it lost by double digits. But everybody was really happy about that sandwich. By the way, Adam, I could feel the giddiness coming through Adam's fingers as he typed his post-game column. I didn't read it till Thursday morning. Adam was a night owl on Wednesday. Adam, you will appreciate the fact that I was legitimately in my bed, and I was like, I'm going to check one more time to see if Adam's column's up yet. It wasn't. I was like, all right, Adam.
All right, enough of this.
Too late for my blood, champ. I'll see you tomorrow morning. But anyway, so read Adam's column. It's great. But so Scooby's out there with a little tiny basketball hoop, which was hilarious in and of itself. I mean, you got this tiny dog and a tiny hoop. Somewhere the amazing Tyler's like, can I balance that on my face? So Scooby then gets a basketball, and little tiny dog gets up on his back legs, and he's got the basketball in his mouth, and he walks over to the hoop, and he slam dunks the ball. Like, the anticipation, because he missed it the first time. That's all right, Scooby. Scooby's a competitor. Sometimes you fail. You just get right back up and go at it. So he gets it again, goes back up. Not only did he dunk it, he put his paws on the rim like Daryl Dawkins, that bad boy. Like slammed it in. And the whole place is like, yeah.
Send it in, Scooby.
Yeah, tiny dog, do it. So I thought, well, I can't get any better than this. Scooby has mastered the halftime/timeout entertainment. Oh, no, Adam. No. As Adam alluded to, a new wrinkle. Scooby gets it. You think he's going to do it again, which would have been fine. Everybody would have loved it. Scooby's walking up, does a 360, and dunks it in. Enormous pop. What a moment it was.
I honestly was a little concerned. So as you said, he missed the first dunk, which is fine, which honestly no one cared about.
No, they just liked that he was trying.
Well, sometimes when one of those acts fails, everybody's kind of like, eh. But when he failed, they were like, give it another shot, Scoob.
We all love you, Scooby.
So then he came back and he made the next one. But then when he went back for the third one, I thought, come on now.
That's enough, Scooby.
We've seen this. Let's don't overdo it. Let's leave him wanting a little more. Next thing I know, he's on his hind legs, pirouetting as he soars towards the rim. And I thought, this can't possibly get any better. I think another new wrinkle is Scooby, I think at halftime, I was trying to figure out the stats with one eye.
That was a full-time job.
Which really required much more than one eye. And I was trying to watch Big Guy and Tiny Dog with the other eye. I think it started out at halftime just Big Guy. And he was doing some amazing feats of strength.
Oh, yeah, he was, like balancing on, like doing handstands on the basketballs and all this stuff.
And he had out there with him like a boombox that, in theory, was playing the music that he was doing.
Did Scooby come out of the boombox?
Scooby came out of the boombox. And then when Scooby was done amazing the crowd, Scooby went back and got in the boombox. I mean, that's just good halftiming.
Yeah. Do you think it's the same Scooby, or do you think we're up to it's probably a new Scooby at this point?
Shut your mouth.
Might be Scooby the third.
There's only one Scooby in my heart and in the hearts of everyone who has watched him entertain millions.
Dunking Nerf balls on tiny hoops. What a moment.
Big Guy and Tiny Dog are near the top of the power
they're right.
rankings.
Yes. They're in the top 5, for sure.
I was a little concerned when they came out during the timeout because I thought, does this mean that we're doing something dumb like honoring the baseball team or something at halftime? Because that's usually a reasonable guess when you're over there. And I was worried they might cut their time short. But no, we got a full halftime of Big Guy and Tiny Dog.
A couple other things. So Harrison Ingram got booed for diving into the crowd.
Well, Wayne State.
He did hit, is it Wendell or Wendell Murphy?
Wendell Murphy.
That's what I thought. Who is perhaps, I'm going to guess, I don't know State inside and out, but he's one of the larger benefactors of State athletics. They have the Murphy Center for Excellence over there for their football program. Seems like a very nice gentleman. I've never met him in my life, but Harrison Ingram ran into him as he was diving for a loose ball. Looked like Mr. Murphy was maybe a little shaken up, but in the end, everybody was, of course, #SoClassy. Kevin Keats checked on him. Harrison Ingram checked on him. Everybody was okay. But Harrison Ingram got booed. Like, why would you boo? Do you think they were just confused at what happened? Like, you can't give that effort. You're supposed to just give it to one guy and clear out the rest of the floor.
Yeah,
then we cheer.
I think you have to remember what they're used to watching. They're like, what is this form of basketball? I agree. I've never heard anything but positive about Wendell Murphy other than he likes NC State, which everybody's got
Everybody's got a flaw.
I think keep an eye on the rest of that family as it relates to Carolina.
Adam's speaking cryptically here. I don't even know what's happening.
But and Harrison Ingram then went back over there and they classed it up. And Mr. Murphy was very nice, and Harrison Ingram was very nice. And then we agreed we were just two competitors.
Yeah. One final thing, Adam. I don't know the gentleman's name. You seem to maybe know his name. The usher guy who was like not having anything of the NC State students getting in the Tar Heels' face.
I don't know that guy, but he was regulating.
Yes. There were some aggressive hand signs, and we're not talking about the wolf sign, from some State students like hanging over the rail and getting uncomfortably close to the Tar Heels as they were coming off the court in pregame. And respect to the usher there in PNC, he was not having that. And then like crossed his arms and stared at him every time the Tar Heels came up and down the tunnel just to make sure none of those shenanigans were occurring. I mean, I couldn't hear what he said, but due to the body language and the gestures, I believe he told those young men he was going to throw them out if it happened again.
I bet he was a great parent. He looked like he might be a little past young kid parenting age, because there was one time where the Tar Heels were getting ready to come out of the tunnel and the students started moving towards the gate or towards the rail, and all he did was like raise his head like
I see
you want some of this? And they visibly took a step back. That is good parenting. Yeah. I also liked
just physically intimidate them. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's how you establish dominance. That's how I've done it my whole life. So there, in that same area of the court after the game, I was surprised to see Zayden High go downward wolf hands.
I've never seen
I've
that.
never seen that.
Yeah.
You can tell he's from Texas and he's used to downward horns.
Yeah. Whoop, you just got a flag from the Big 12.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay. They're leaving
Yeah,
it.
that's right. That only a few more months.
Do we think that could catch on? Does anyone care enough to do the downward wolf hands?
That's a great question. I think the answer is probably no. But here's the thing. Zayden High's a wild card.
Oh, yeah.
Anything could happen with Zayden High out there.
Yeah.
He could do, when he goes to Cameron for the first time, who
my
knows
gosh.
what's going to happen?
When they do the spirit
Yeah.
fingers at him,
Yeah.
there's no telling what's going to occur.
Yeah. So I just gaze my eyes to Zayden to blaze the path of how we should behave.
Yeah, that's right. As do the rest of the Tar Heels, I think. I do think if that catches on, that's forever known as the Zayden.
Yeah.
He's the first one I've ever seen do that.
Yeah. So all in all, good win. Tar Heels, of course, see State again, as we said, early March. I believe it's March 3rd in the Smith Center that they will play. I bet there'll be a tip-off club before that game, too.
Bet so.
Be hopping.